What harmful things are being taught to children? No is a bad word. It's a strong word, but not a bad one. I could never tell an adult no growing up because it was a rude word. Becoming an adult is weird. It took me a while to realize I could change things about my life that I didn't like or were making me unhappy, and literally no one would stop it or tell me I couldn't. Probably not harmful, but in kindergarten we were prohibited from playing soccer because it was too dangerous. We were kindergarteners. We probably would stand there and kick the ball, not go full on FIFA or shit. Children do learn about sex at a young age. It just isn't usually in a productive way. I know I did. My own experience. Questions like this are why I believe in being infinitely clear with my kids. You are going to hear total crap from other kids. If you hear something you don't understand, come talk to me. You can ask me anything and expect a decent answer, and I would give examples of the total crap I had heard as a kid, most of which would result in pregnancy. Son, age 6. Daughter, age 7. Riding home from school, daughter says Tiffany said she had sex with my brother, which left me a grand total of 3 minutes to gather my wits before we got home. Okay, do you guys know what sex is? Blank looks. Sex is when you take off all of your clothes and rub privates together. You can make babies that way. Looks of shock and disgust. Do you think your brother had sex with Tiffany? No. I think she was using a really bad way of trying to say she likes him. And maybe she watches the wrong TV shows where, if people like each other they always have sex. Were my kids really ready for a sex talk? No. Not really. They didn't care. Did we really need to have one about then? Yep. My job as a parent is to be there, to put things that come up in context for them, not run around after them deciding what and when they need to know things. This is something I will always stand firm on. If the child is old enough to ask the question, they are old enough to know the answer. Do you need to sit down and draw a diagram and pull out textbooks when they are 7? Probably not. But if they are asking questions about misinformation they are hearing from other kids, I'm going to do my best to be honest and answer in a way that they will, hopefully, be able to understand. I was in nursing school when my kids were little, and they loved looking through my textbooks. They'd ask questions. I'd give age appropriate answers. We never had the talk, but it was just kind of ingrained into everyday conversation. If something came up, the best was when my son, who was in 2nd grade, asked me what a boner was. My daughter, who had just had her first sex ed class in 5th grade, piped up and said, "Oh, I know. That's when a boy has a really happy dream and he ejaculates in his bed." Not only did I have to keep from laughing, I then had to explain erections and wet dreams in the 3 minutes we had in the car, always in the car, before I dropped them off at school. Nobody cares about children/teens issues. Well, it's only going to get worse from here. You think school is hard? Have you ever paid a ducking bill? You're just a kid, you can't feel this way. It breeds an emotional disconnect from parents and their kids, and makes kids feel alone in their emotional struggles. That nobody cares, because they're not adults and they don't have adult problems. Listen earnestly to anything your children want to tell you, no matter what. If you don't listen eagerly to the little stuff when they are little, they won't tell you the big stuff when they are big, because to them all of it has always been big stuff. Catherine Wallace. As someone who knew what she was talking about. Kids are starting social media so early these days, and I think that's very dangerous because it puts a lot of pressure on the kid to attribute their worth to their social media success. I also think parents are way too open with their social media when it comes to their kids, and it's totally a violation of the child's privacy, of which some parents will never admit. The amount of parents I see on social media just sharing everything that happens in their child's life is astounding. Maybe Bobby doesn't want everyone to know that tried out for the school play, but he didn't make it. That may not be a big deal to you, but Bobby might be really upset right now, and having everyone his mom knows giving opinions on the subject probably won't help. It sucks, even when a parent is just verbally going off about what's going on in my life without asking, let alone posting it online. One of my parents bragged to everyone I was going to a private university for law. Later on we decided I couldn't go BC of the cost. Now having to have that discussion with everyone feed told was exhausting. Now imagine that shit stain on Facebook mayo. Being discouraged to speak up about illnesses because it makes them weird something's wrong with them. They talk about like, you need therapy, which isn't a bad concept and you probably do need it, but they picture it in such a bad light. Teaching them that it's not okay to fail. Some people need a little more time than others. It's okay to not get something now. Kids should be given more time to process things. Imagine having a poor grade because of a low score from the beginning of the year. How can we show children that it's not pass or fail, it's try and improve? And if kids go into software development or many other fields, to be honest, they are going to struggle with the agile methodology of fail often, fail fast, fail better. They can become perfectionists, which runs very counter to a fast changing, quick delivering culture. Perfection is the enemy of done. And if kids go into software development or many other fields, to be honest, they are going to struggle with the agile methodology of fail often, fail fast, fail better. Main problem is explaining this to management. A lot of managers stress out because of simple bugs. It's much better to detect these before release. If you shout at developers for simple bugs, they are a lot less likely to trust you. It means the big bugs get hidden until launch day. To repress their emotions, it will only cause them to bottle them up and accumulate them to the point of exploding in an instant. I watched a sad video of a child from a third world country getting his foot scraped for chiggers. The man holding the camera, who I assume was the boy's father, kept saying to him it's wrong for a man to cry. Silent tears. It also might have been to keep the kid from screaming in the doctor's ear, but still, he was like 8. Chiggers to things. A. I misread that. B. The hell are those? I don't want to Google it and get nasty images. I think what we are not taught is more harmful. For example, the fact that we never learn, at least in my country, how to fact check things. I haven't had an horse worth of education in school to date in how to fact check or vet sources, and I'm heading into my 3rd year of university. Thank God for the librarian I befriended. Librarians are the ducking gods of finding you good sources for things. Basically all those shit social media influencers that teach young people that it's all about money and brand names. This is why we have a whole generation that wants to be Twitch streamers and YouTube stars. For myself and my friends, having grown up in the time YouTube blew up and became what it is, the primary inspiration found in seeing people make a career out of online content creation was the opportunity to make a living doing something you genuinely enjoy instead of slogging through the rat race. Never really had much to do with status. I don't know if the culture's values have shifted so much with the bulls and keemsters out there and the rise of social media, or if it just depends what parts of the internet you're exposed to and what values you have. That failure is bad. Failing should not be considered as an obstacle, but a step in the learning process. Demonizing the failure and stigma associated with it makes many children lose their interest once they fail. This, but also the humiliation that comes with failing. If failure is to be considered a learning process, then people need to be taught not to laugh at the people who have failed. Not just the humiliation, but also the shame associated with failure. Teaching kids not to question things just because someone is older or allegedly wiser is one of the most frustrating things that I see on a daily basis. How is a child supposed to ever develop any individual and nuanced ideas if they can't think for themselves? If you have a different opinion than someone, you hate them, and that's wrong. Also, people seem to be taught this incorrect notion that every disagreement has to be an argument. So backing down, admitting that you were wrong, or changing your mind are considered losing. It's totally fine to change how you feel about an issue when presented with new information. It doesn't make you weak. Of course, it takes more courage to admit you're wrong and be open to change than to keep fighting a losing battle. No backtalk. Many adults use it as you're not allowed to challenge what I have to say. Makes sense if it's a cranky toddler being negative for negativity's sake. But suddenly older children can't question things or raise valid points of their own. Grew up with a parent who was a lawyer. I was always allowed to argue my point. There were many times where she still won because she was the parent in the situation. But she would always justify why, and I could always make my case. And sometimes I won too. My husband was raised to react when mom and dad say jump, you say how high. His parents still say jump and are now pissed that my husband is a grown ass man and has his own family and ideas and needs, and they can't reconcile it. All toddlers are mini lawyers anyway. They'll cross-examine and challenge every single rule you set as a parent. That complaining is the same as not being grateful. Can't count the number of times growing up when adults basically told me to shut up whenever I was complaining about something, and that I should be grateful that I was born where I was. Like sure, I'm glad I wasn't born into some starving African family, but that doesn't mean everything is perfect over here, and that we shouldn't try to improve things here as well. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.